The call came at an hour that doesn't belong to anyone. Not night, not morning. Just that thin, suspended stretch of time when the world is technically still turning but nothing humane is supposed to be awake. The room was dark, but not fully. Streetlight through the curtains. The quiet hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. The house breathing the way it does when it thinks it's alone. The glow of the phone on the nightstand cut through all of it. I remember my hand reaching for it before my mind caught up. Muscle memory. Reflex. The kind you develop after years of listening for a child's cough through a closed door, for footsteps in the hallway, for the subtle wrongness that precedes disaster. My body already knew this call didn't belong to that hour. For a split second, I expected silence when I answered, or confusion, or maybe someone else's voice asking for me, misdialed, apologetic. Instead, I heard my daughter. Mom! The word was thin, careful, compressed like she was rationing breath. She was trying to sound older than she was, trying to keep herself steady by borrowing adulthood from her tone. They left. 2 words. Nothing dramatic about them. No rush. No crying. Just a statement, offered the way children offer facts when they don't yet know how much weight they carry. For a moment I asked the wrong question. Left where? As if the geography mattered more than the act. As if there were a version of left that didn't already contain everything I needed to know. She explained in pieces. Not because she was confused, but because memory was arriving in fragments. The terminal. A bench near a window. The way the glass made everything look farther away than it really was. A language she didn't speak rolling past her. Announcements, footsteps, laughter. Like weather. Constant. Impersonal. She told me her grandparents said they needed to catch their flight. That someone would come back. That it would only be a minute. She waited. Minutes passed. Then more. She watched people leave and return. Watched families gather themselves. Watched the shape of the crowd change. She stayed on the bench because she'd been told to stay. She held her bag on her lap with both arms wrapped around it. Not hugging it so much as anchoring herself to something solid. No one came back. As she spoke, I sat up, already moving. The bed sheets slid to the floor. My feet found the cold without hesitation. Shoes, keys, the notebook I keep by the door. Not for groceries or reminders, but for emergencies I don't like to imagine. I grabbed it without thinking. Pen. Phone tucked between my shoulder and my ear. I told her to stay where there were people. I told her not to wander, not even if someone offered help. I asked her to read the signs to me, even if she didn't understand them, just so I could hear where she was. I asked her to keep the phone on, even if it went quiet, even if neither of us knew what to say for a minute. My voice was calm, measured. It didn't rise or crack. That came later, privately. At the time, calm was a tool. Panic wastes time. Then I called my parents. My mother answered on the second ring. Her voice was breathless in a way that suggested interruption, not fear, as if I'd caught her in the middle of something mildly annoying. I told her where my daughter was. I told her she was alone. There was a pause. In it, I could hear the television in the background. A laugh track, something cheerful, something designed to smooth over discomfort. She doesn't fit in with our family vibe, my mother said. The words landed strangely, like something rehearsed but poorly timed, as if she were returning an item to a store, apologetic but firm, as if this were about preference. We thought it would be easier if... I didn't let her finish, not because I wasn't angry. Anger was already there, sharp and bright, but because anger slows you down if you let it take the lead. I needed speed. I needed clarity. I needed record. I needed witnesses. I ended the call. Then I moved. I told my daughter to stay on the line. I asked for the airport code. I typed with one hand, wrote with the other. I called the airline and asked for a supervisor. Then another. I asked for airport security. I didn't explain emotionally. I explained factually. Child. Alone. International terminal. Guardians departed without her. I asked for names. I asked them to log the time, the gate, the bench. I asked them to mark it as abandonment. I asked them to treat it as what it was. Every question I asked was specific. Every answer I wrote down. When someone asked if I wanted to file a report, I said yes. Clearly, without hesitation. I said it again when they repeated the question, as if giving me space to reconsider. The tone shifted. Not dramatically, professionally. Protocol took over. Voices became steadier, more precise. One person told me where my daughter would be escorted. Another asked for passport details. Someone else asked if I was en route or coordinating remotely. I'm doing both, I said, and meant it. I didn't shout at my parents. I didn't threaten them. I sent one message. Just one. She is not to be left alone again. Authorities are involved. Do not contact her. They called anyway. I didn't answer. The hours between that call and the reunion felt unreal, stretched thin. Time became something I moved through without fully inhabiting. I drove. I waited. I coordinated. I signed things. I listened to people whose job it was to keep children safe, explain procedures I never wanted to learn. The reunion, when it came, was quieter than I'd imagined. No sobbing. No collapse. She ran into me, fast and determined, then stopped abruptly, as if embarrassed by the intensity of her own relief. Her body remembered it was in public. She checked herself. I knelt anyway. I held her until her breathing slowed to something recognizable. I felt the tension release from her shoulders, one small increment at a time. I didn't ask questions. I didn't fill the space with reassurance. I let my presence do the work. In the car, later, the world moving again outside the windows, she asked if she was in trouble. The question was tentative, careful. Children learn early to locate blame, and when something goes wrong, they often assume it belongs to them. No, I said. You were protected. She nodded. That was enough for then. The days that followed unfolded in a way that felt both slow and irreversible. Statements, copies, emails that began with "for the record." I learned how many systems exist for moments like this, and how rarely families expect to encounter them. I learned the language of documentation, the weight of timestamps, the authority of names written down by the right people. My parents' story changed as facts accumulated. First, it was a misunderstanding. Then it was a timing issue. Then it was an overreaction. Each version arrived with a tone that suggested compromise was still possible, that this could be smoothed over if everyone agreed to be reasonable. None of those versions survived contact with evidence. They asked to talk. I declined. I asked for everything in writing. I watched my daughter closely. Shock is polite at first. It waits its turn. We kept routines. School mornings. Lunches packed the same way. Dinner at the same time. I didn't announce support as support. I folded it into normalcy. I answered the questions she asked and let the others rest until they were ready. One night, a week later, she said, "I knew you'd come." The sentence was simple, declarative. Not praise, not relief, just fact. I swallowed the thing that rose in my throat and nodded. My parents sent a message that tried to split the difference. Apology adjacent, accountability light. It talked about intentions and stress and how families make mistakes. It gestured toward responsibility without quite touching it. I read it once. Then I archived it. There was no satisfaction in any of this. No triumph. No sense of having won something. There was only alignment, the quiet relief of acting in a way that matched the responsibility I'd accepted the day she was born. Some lines, once crossed, don't invite discussion. They invite response. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue values. I didn't demand remorse. I acted and I kept acting until the world around my daughter made sense again. Protection isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It documents. It follows through. It stays. It's thorough.